Hi, how are you tonight? I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. So far, I do have internet, at least I hope so. I can hear the wind whipping around out there, so there's just no telling what could happen, so I thought I would just give you a heads up in case I suddenly disappeared. Oh, that's very strange. Okay, there we go. I was seeing a picture of myself from like years ago with one of those things around me saying I voted, and I didn't do that yesterday. I didn't put out that sign. Anyway, so here we are. I have 3 cards for you tonight, 2 holiday cards, and one is just kind of a general card with a set that I just really like, and I thought I'd bring it to your attention again in case you're interested. And I have some information about some things that I was asked about too. So let me turn the camera down. I was looking for something, but I found it already, and we will get going. Okay, I think it's looking pretty good. Okay. So here's my information. 11 Lake Stamper, 11 Lake Stamper on YouTube, and this group is 11 Lake Stamper Creatives. It's a public Facebook group, and I also have 11 Lake Stamper business page, which I've just kind of started up and haven't done too much with yet, but it's possible that at some point I will be doing my live videos from there instead of from this group and reserving this group for some other things. All right, haven't quite decided about that yet, but maybe. And at this point, you can shop with me at www.rcolasino.stampinup.net. I come to you every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. That's all my email address down there as well, 11legstamper@gmail.com. So everything says 11 Leg Stamper, which just makes me much easier to find. So our joining special is over. It was a good one. There will probably be another good joining special in January when they do celebration, but I just wanted to thank the 3 people who joined my team. One as a direct downline from me, a level 1 we call it, and the other 2 as a level 2, which means that they signed up to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator under one of my downline. So that's always really good news, okay? All right, so here we go. So this is the first card, which will be a Christmas card. Don't worry, it's not really going to be black on the front. That's just one layer. That will be the inside. And actually, if I had had something to cut out something with, I should have cut out something because it's just kind of going to get hidden there. So we'll go ahead and attach this one layer here. And then we'll move on from there. I did some pre-work just because I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to turn out. I don't mind the occasional surprise when I'm making cards, but I don't want to have a total goof. So sometimes I do some things ahead. Sometimes if I have more time, I do make a sample as well so that I end up with 2 cards. But this time I kind of didn't want to do that. Ooh, it's slip sliding all over the place. There we go. Oh, not quite. Okay. I almost feel like that's not cut straight because it's lined up okay here, but a little weird there. So something might not have gotten cut right, either the card base or that. I'm not sure which, but we will live with it. So right now we don't have a snow embossing folder that's current. We had one called Snowfall 3D, I think, but that has retired. So I just kind of had this idea, instead of using something that was retired, especially since I put it away and I don't know exactly where it is. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining. I decided to take my score board out, not the trimmer that has a scoring thing on it, but my actual score board, Stampin' Up! Scoreboard. And I just made some marks on a 4 by 5 1/4? No, this is 4 by 5 1/4, so maybe 3 3/4 by 5 piece of paper. It looks more like rain than snow, but I figured it would just add a little bit of texture. And then I tore it up. And I probably should have stamped my pieces before I tore it up, because what happened was I didn't leave myself enough room to put my little penguins And I guess I should tell you that the penguins are from the Choose Happy stamp set, which is a standalone stamp set. Can be found in the annual catalog on page 37. And there's the information for the item number and the price. This carried over from the 2023 catalog, or maybe a mini, to the 24-25, carried over again to the 25-26, so apparently it's been very popular. I've used it before. It's extremely versatile, and I'm sure that's why it's so popular. It's got all these different words on it, and it does have the penguin, which could be for winter, but it certainly doesn't say anything about Christmas here specifically, and it's just got lots of little stamps that are just so cute, and there's lots of things that can be done with it. So I know I'm always telling you this, but I love a versatile stamp set. So anyway, I tore it, and I kind of wanted to have like one here, one here, one here, and then not have one here, but have the sentiment here. But this piece wasn't big enough to stamp him on, so that's just kind of what happened. And like I said, those things happen. It's not a big deal. And I'm not too terribly worried about getting it together completely. But I was thinking that, and what did I do with them? I was thinking that maybe I would want to use not so much a blending brush, because I think they'd be too big for this, but maybe a sponge dauber, and maybe one that I don't even ink up, but that I just find one that has some ink on it that I can use. And I could either use some blue or a little bit of gray, just to kind of do this on the in-between parts. And I'm just hoping that there's just enough gray on here to do the job, not a lot. And that's kind of perfect. That's what I'm looking for. You may not even be able to see that, but I can see it, and that was kind of the idea. If you're holding it in your hand, you'd be able to see it just a tiny bit. I don't even have an ink pad out here to dip this into, so I'm just hoping it'll hold up for a few of these, just to give it a little definition, maybe some shadowing, since these are supposed to be like mounds of snow, just a little bit of that. And I think that's good. I think I don't need any more than that, just a little touch. All right, and then I do, like I said, I kind of want them to fit together as best as possible, but I wanted to tear it because I wanted it to look like little mounds of snow. What I do need to figure out, though, is where I need to start there and where I need to end here, and did I not cut this small enough? Let's see. It's small enough on the sides. I only wanted to see a touch of the black, so that's working, but is it small enough in the top to bottom? Maybe not. I might have to trim some of this off, but I can do that. I could trim a tiny touch from here and maybe a tiny touch from there. And that might be just fine. All right, and when I say tiny, I really do mean tiny. Just a sliver, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch. Just enough so that the right amount will be showing through there. All right, so let's see. I think I can start to glue down. So the penguins are just adorable, and they're small. I did a card a while back, not too long ago, where I did... I think it was one where I did 4 squares, and then I did different little symbols or different little images in each of the 4 squares, and that was kind of cute. You could do a tiled type thing. Okay, there we go. Let's try this again. There we go. So it's kind of like some crazy weather we've been having. We've been having a lot of strong winds here. And I really felt like it was windy this week, but someone pointed out to me today that they feel like this whole year has been windy, at least in our area, more so than usual. And I think they might be right. Sometimes I don't pay that close attention to it, but this week I just felt like I was blown all over the place. I had to go chasing a garbage can down the street. That was fun. Okay. So that's there, and that's kind of getting me started where I want to be. And then we can kind of match these up. And if there's a tiny bit of black showing, that'll just give us a little more of that shadowing anyway. I'm not the least bit concerned about that. This is just designed to be a fun card. And I wanted it to be reasonably simple. And tearing is pretty simple, you know. It's just being a little destructive. We can all do that without too much help, right? Okay. And if that bothered you, that there was some black showing there, you could get out one of those white gel pens, if you happen to have one of those, and just fix that. Just make a dab of white in there to cover it up, and it would be no problem. It doesn't bother me. So I actually did not choose a Merry Christmas sentiment for this one, or at least not for the outside. And then, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to trim a little off of there. I can't really rip anymore because his head is so close. Let's see. And just a touch more, and that's really all I can do without losing the G's and the Y's. Just a touch. Yeah, I might have lost a tiny bit of the loop there. I somehow cut it out correct from side to side, but not from top to bottom, or maybe I just got distracted and forgot to do it. Hi, Debbie, how are you? Thanks for joining. Oh, let's move that over a tiny bit and move it up a tiny bit. We may be overlapping a little bit now. Okay, there we go. So this little guy really doesn't require too much coloring, but if we want to, we could take either the light or the dark pumpkin pie or the peach pie color, and we could just color in his beak. I honestly don't think that penguins' beaks are orange, to be honest with you. I have a feeling they're black, but, you know, we just want to give a little bit of color, and he certainly doesn't look like a real penguin anyway. He's just for fun, so I don't think it'll matter. But you do whatever you would like to do if you're doing this. And that's really all the coloring that's involved, so I like that. I'm almost just making dots as opposed to trying to color like back and forth. All right, so that's it. And I used the sentiment, A Winter Wish for Snowy Delights, which came from the Snowy Delights bundle, which I showed you was it just last week? It might have been last week or the week before, I can't remember. And so that one doesn't necessarily say anything about Merry Christmas. This is the bundle that also comes with dies and the masks. And someone had asked me if I could do a brief tutorial on the masks, and I was more than happy to do that, except that I couldn't find my blending brushes. Is this not the story of my life? And I used them in this room fairly recently, so I have not a clue what happened to them. So on the inside, I think what I might do is just stamp another little penguin guy. And you know what else I could do? I could take a scrap, if I have a scrap. I never have a scrap when I need one. Well, just for the heck of it, I'm just going to grab a piece of paper, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I could take a scrap, and I could put that on the bottom here. All right, I won't use this one because it's wrinkly and it's just paper. And then I could stamp the penguin sort of in the mountain of snow, or in the snow drift, whatever you want to call it. And I still could do something. I would just have to do a little bit of tearing. All right, so I'm using the Memento black ink. All right, and then I'll get this out again and do a real quick color on his beak and his feet. Yeah, so, and I just went out the lines just the tiniest bit, but I can use my color lifter to fix that. Some of these markers I've had for a number of years, and they've lasted me very well. I keep them in a like a plastic shoebox from Walmart. I would not say that it's airtight, but they're not exposed to a lot of air, and they're not being hit by a fan or by air conditioning. I had some markers at one point in one of those sets of clear drawers that you can get, also like at Walmart, and I had it right near a window, and the ones that were in that container, they started to dry out, and I realized that they should not be exposed to the sun either, because this room that I'm in here gets very warm. It gets a southern exposure sun. So keep them in a cool place and keep them in a container, and I think they'll last you a really long time. Mine certainly have, which is good because they were a bit of an investment, and I started buying them slowly because I really wasn't sure if I wasn't going to like them, that I didn't want to spend the money if I wasn't going to like them. That's what I was trying to say, but it turned out that I really do like them. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining. So there you go. Just kind of cute and fun, and then I can certainly put Merry Christmas on the inside. But if I choose not to use it for a Christmas card, I could use it for a winter birthday card as well. So I'm kind of getting more into that, not pinholing myself by putting a sentiment that's way too specific on some of my cards, because then all of a sudden I find myself with a need for a card, and I don't have what I need. Kind of never fails. All right, so the next card is also a holiday card, only this card is a Hanukkah card. All right, and this card is using the stamp set, which is, now it's an online exclusive. It's called Celebrate the Miracle. It's a standalone stamp set. I have labeled it with one of my own labels. I have a special way of sorting out my stuff as timeless, which means that even though whether this retires or not, I'll keep it because I can always use it, just like some of my favorite Christmas sets. But right now, this is the first Hanukkah set that Stampin' Up! Has had in a number of years. So I have the other one. It was on wood blocks, and I probably won't get rid of that either, because when you want one, you want one. All right, and it's kind of nice. It has Hanukkah spelled both ways, because some people are kind of funny about that. I personally spell mine with the H, only because I just think it looks funny with the CH, and then people get confused about how to pronounce it. And I like all the different things that it offers you, and it offers you different fonts as well. So I'm very fond of this particular set, and here's the information on that set, should you be interested. It was in the 2024 September to December mini catalog, which is the one that we are using right now, only it's the 2025 that we're using right now, and it carried over to online. And I believe that they've been replenishing it, but I guess I can't say for a fact. All right, I also wanted to show you something that I sometimes do, and maybe you can see this, maybe you can't. All right, there are little pencil marks here. Yeah, you can see it. It's a little dark. Little pencil marks, and those were designed to help me with positioning something, okay, on the card. So this is the what am I trying to say? Hello, this is the top of the card. This is the card base. It's Blueberry Bushel. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Now I can erase. I wrote very lightly in the pencil. It's just a number 2 pencil, and I have the polymer erasers that do a super good job of erasing, even if you haven't written super lightly, but I really did, because sometimes I just would like something to be lined up. Sometimes I don't care, but in this particular case, I think I'm going to like it lined up. Now, my inspiration came with a card that was actually made with a different Hanukkah set. I don't know if it was a Stampin' Up! One or not, by someone named Amy Struthers, I think it is. Amy Struthers. All right, so this will be the liner. And I did go ahead and I already stamped out Happy Hanukkah just because I tried it a couple of times and I kept getting it crooked, so I decided just to do it and get it over with. And I have a strip of the silver foil paper. I tend to think of Hanukkah as like a blue and silver kind of thing. I don't know if that's just me, but I do. All right, so we've got that. And then I have 3 banners that I cut also out of the Blueberry Bushel. 2 are the same size and 1 is a little bit longer. So the reason I had these marks here, and I can probably even cover them up a little bit so I won't have to erase them, is I wanted the longer one in the middle, but I wanted them all lined up at the top if possible. Okay, so just kind of like that. Just as a little background, another layer, something else to do. Okay, and then if I put put this one on next and make sure my distance there is pretty much the same. It should look okay. Okay, I think it looks good. You always get a better view than I do because you've got that bird's eye view, and that's very helpful. I would have to stand up to get that view. Okay, and then this one is supposed to be, see my line's not quite in the right spot. There we go, but at least it gives me a clue. Okay, and I can see, so these pencils, they're Bic pencils, and they have the polymer eraser that I was talking about. It's just a really nice soft eraser. It does a really good job erasing pencil. And since I do occasionally make mistakes, I like to have them. This is the 2 3/8 circle punch. I could have used a circle die, but I just grabbed what was closest to me and used the punch. And so what we're going to stamp on here is the menorah. And, or maybe not, because how is that not fitting? Oh, it might not be fitting because she used a different set than I used. Okay. Well, now that's interesting because I don't think I have any circle dies where I can reach them. And I kind of wanted it to be a circle. Well, and then there has to be room for the candles too. Let me just see what that looks like if I just do that and leave the bottom off. I don't know. Not sure if I'm going to like it, but I can always replace it later when I figure out how I want it to look. All right, so we're inking this up with smoky slate. We don't have silver ink. I could emboss it, I suppose, but I wasn't too worried about that. I just wanted it to have kind of a silverish look. Silver gray, I guess. Okay. And then the candles, we have, this one's kind of wild. The candles and the flames are two different things. Oh, there they are. Right in front of my face, okay. And then we are going to make the candles, well, I want the candles blue. Blueberry bushel. And this is where your photopolymer stamps come in really handy because you can see through them, which doesn't guarantee perfection. I'm the first one to tell you. Doesn't necessarily guarantee perfection, but it helps. All right, because you can see now where the candles kind of need to be so that they don't look like they're hovering in space. And I'd rather have them come down a little too low and cover some of the gray ink than to not come down high enough or low enough. So that's like close to perfect. I could not be happier. So that probably means that we will not have the same type of luck with the flames. Oh, and I forgot to grab yellow. Let me just grab a yellow stamp pad. There we go. All right, so this is Daffodil Delight. And same thing, same theory should work. That we hover it over. I want you to be able to see it, but I also need to see it a little bit myself. And just, take your time positioning it. All right, I think I'm on the blue a little bit, but that's kind of okay. All right, little cockeye, but flames blow around, so they could be moving, right? There could be some breeze on them, and they could be moving. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so we can get rid of those two things, and I think this one too. Okay, so that works out okay, except that you don't see the whole thing, and there's something about that that bugs me, but I might do like a paper piecing thing and attach it, or just find a bigger circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it with some dimensionals, and I'm not going to use a lot. I'm probably just going to use 2 so that I can pull it off if need be, if I decide to change it. Now the other thing we could do, which would be different from the design that I looked at, but that's okay, because it's always best not to copy completely anyway. I'm using different colors, and like I said, possibly a different stamp set. I just can't tell. It looks different to me. So I want to put this like right here, and then maybe what I can do, put that up a little higher. And then I'm wondering if what I could do is put this over where the bottom is supposed to be. So like it's there, but you're just not seeing it. And I think I'm going to need to trim that a touch. This is where a person should measure, and I won't. You should. Do as I say, not as I do. I'll just keep taking a touch off until all of a sudden I say, oh, shoot, I took off too much. Let's see. Oh, that's darn close to perfect. Let's see. So now we take off a tiny bit more. And I really am just taking off slivers. Because, measuring it would take, a minute or two. There we go. Looks good. All right, and then this is going to get glued to that. Now, when you're using glue, I could use the tear and tape. When you're using glue on the shiny paper, what's it called? The foil paper, you have two things to worry about. One, it doesn't dry as fast because it's not going to soak into the shiny paper. So therefore, it's going to be slippery for a little while. And two, if you get glue on your hands and you get glue on the foil paper, it's not a good look and it's really hard to get off. So we try not to do that. So this could easily keep moving for a couple of minutes because it's slick. And I could accidentally make it lopsided. Although it looks like I've done that pretty well on my own without an accident. Okay. And then if I pop that up with some dimensionals as well, I think that works. And then I don't have to change the circle. I think it works. We're just going to assume that the bottom of the menorah is underneath the sentiment. It works for me. And it is just another way that you can fix a mistake. For the most part, you've heard me saying this before, for the most part, there are very few mistakes that can't be fixed. Okay, so there we have Happy Hanukkah. All right, and then on the inside, where did I put them? Here they are. I thought I would put some dreidels. All right, so dreidels are like a top, and it's a game that you play. And it's a lot of fun, and you can win money, but usually it's chocolate money. And it's called Gelt. All right, so I'm just going to put that on the inside. And the set also has like a smaller menorah, and it has some Stars of David and some other things that you could use as well. So that's going to go right on the inside. I don't know why, but that looks big to me. Nope, I think I said that last week too. Sometimes the papers just don't look the right size to me, and they are. And sometimes they look like they are the right size, and they're not. It happens. I know, Deb, I like the silver foil too. I like it better than gold. I'm not a huge gold fan. I mean, I wear silver jewelry too. I have gold jewelry, but I tend to lean towards the silver. And like I said, for some reason, I just feel like silver and blue go together. I don't know why exactly, but I do. Now, blueberry bushel is one of those kind of deep, rich colors, so I'm afraid to rub my hand on it. It's probably dry. Most of our inks dry pretty quickly, and that pad wasn't too juicy, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't smear it. So that's card number 2. So we have 2 holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah. And then the third card, I even have some bling, Debbie. All right, paying attention? I have some bling. Debbie likes bling. We all know this. All right, so this card, I'm thinking could be a wedding card, an engagement card. Whenever I see white on white, I tend to think that would make a great wedding card. And of course, obviously, it's going to depend on what's on it. If it's something goofy, it's probably not a great idea for a wedding card. And this one, I am using the dies that come with the Textured Notes bundle, which is an online exclusive. I love these. I use these in my journals. I just used them on a special project that I made for the craft show that I'm going to be at on the 22nd. I made some are painted, some are decoupaged, but I made some, what's the word I'm looking for? Canvas pouches and decorated them. And on some of them, I stamped some of these images, and they came out really nice. So, but they come with these dies, which are really great. They're rectangular, and they basically are nesting dies, except for this one long one, which I assume is meant to go with this one really long sentiment up top. And I used not the first, second, or third largest, the fourth and fifth largest. Okay, I used those two dies to cut out these two pieces here. And basically they're just going to be layering pieces. This one we're going to stamp on though, and this one I already stamped on and using tone on tone. So the ink is fresh freesia, the paper is fresh freesia, and these I believe are fresh freesia. So that's the thing I always tell people I love about Stampin' Up! Is the color coordination, that everything matches. The markers match, the colored pencils match, the paper, the ink, the embellishments, the ribbon. You can get it all to match so that you don't have to worry about going to the store and being sure that what you bought will match what you have at home, only to get home and find out that you must be colorblind because it does not match. Sometimes I do wonder. So this is the larger of the two layers, and we're putting that evenly in the center. So again, that's white on white. Then this one I'm going to stamp on. So for this, I used the stamp set Blooming Phrases. This is an online exclusive, and it's a standalone stamp set. I love the fact that it has this little flourish at the end, but there's a reason for it. It actually serves a purpose. So this stamp, and this stamp, you may notice, have a kind of a line down the middle, almost like an empty spot. And that's because what you do is you stamp one of those three little images over the line. So instead of it just being a line, you can embellish it with the stamp. And I thought that was so clever. So clever. The people who work from Stampin' Up! Are just so smart. Okay, so I grabbed some stamps. I grabbed this little leaf. I grabbed this one here that looks like a cone flower, I think. I grabbed this one, which is the one that I already used, so I don't need that one right now. And then I grabbed this one here, the little flowers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a little flower garden here, okay? And I still want to stay as tone on tone as possible. But what happened? I came over here and I was reaching for another color, and then what happened? I ended up not getting it, apparently. Okay. I wanted to get the Petunia Pop. And when I look at the Petunia Pop, while I see pink, I do see some hints of purple. So I didn't want all the flowers to be exactly the same color. So what we do is we get this sentiment that we used before, and now I'm not going to use this part of it. I'm only going to use this part of it. And that is going to be my stem. Okay, hang on. I want to keep it pale, but this color soft seafoam may almost be too pale. Like sometimes you can barely see it, it's so pale. But what I want to do is to just ink up that part, the tail, and then stamp down here at the bottom. And I'm going to do that a couple of times. I know that you love the bling, Debbie. We all know you love the bling. So I got a little bit there because I got a little bit on the corner, and that's because I'm using a block that's bigger than what I should use because the other blocks are all used up, but I can get rid of that, I think. So when you're doing this, check the top of your block and make sure you haven't accidentally put your block into the ink. And that's why it is a good idea to always use a block that's as close as possible to the size of your stamps. Okay, so we're done with that. Now, let's see. I think I'm going to have them all open here for a minute. I worry about doing that a little bit just because I do use a ceiling fan in this room, This room is always hot. I don't know what the deal is. It's always hot. All right, so I'm going to start out with a coneflower, I think. And I'll do the petunia pop, so this is going to be a little bit darker of a color. And I'm going to stamp that on right there. It's such a pretty color, isn't it? And then I'm going to do these little flowers. It's a little cluster of 3 flowers. And I'm going to do that over here. There we go. I don't know if I want to just keep alternating. I suppose that's probably a good idea. And in between, whoa, excuse me. And in between what I can do, hang on. I can never get this camera exactly the way I want to get it so that you're seeing everything. Hang on, we're going to make a little shift. All right. And now, because this block is too big, I've got the leaf on the very tippy top of the block. Tippy top, is that a word? I don't know. Okay, so we're going to stamp that. And I like that this ink is very, very light. It's definitely, you can see it though. And I might not put stamps everywhere. It's okay if they overlap each other. All right, so again, because it's see-through, because of the photopolymer stamp and the acrylic blocks, I can kind of see what I'm doing, and I stand a good chance of getting things in the right place. All right, so now back to the petunia pop. Okay, I'm trying to remember to angle them in different directions. And then back to the fresh freesia. And if a lighter color overlaps a darker color, that's kind of cool because it's really just going to look like it's out in back. Now, there's nothing that these little flowers are attached to, so they kind of look like they're floating in space. I could definitely take a colored pencil or something, a marker. I don't know if we have a marker in soft seafoam, to tell you the truth, but I could take something and just draw a little something there so that it doesn't look like those things are floating in space. All right, and then we'll do a couple more of the leaves. I'll maybe make this one a little bit higher up, and this one a little bit lower down. Okay. There we go. Now it sort of looks like it's sitting on the leaf, although we know that flowers don't grow out of leaves. But you know, this is not the real world. This is the Stampin' Up! World. It's Roberta's world. All right. And then another coneflower. And some more of those little flowers. I didn't get that coneflower right on there either, so I'll see if I can touch that up with something. I'm sure I can. All right, where are we going to put all these things? So now, because this is a white card and so much of it is white, and I've already had a little oops with the green ink. Oh, you know, I'm looking for my sand eraser, but it's not here because I used it to get pencil marks off a wall at the art gallery the other day. Makes me crazy because, you know, when you hang a show, I guess you have to make some pencil marks, but then nobody erases them. So I go around and erase them. It's just me being a little OCD. So look at your hands. Make sure you don't have any ink on your hands because you don't want any more ink on there. And then this one I think I'm going to pop up. Oops. Let's get it right side up. There we go. And then we're going to center that the best we can. Better than that. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. And then I just made a banner that says Celebrate. So it could be an engagement party, I guess. It could be almost anything. And this is going to kind of go over that just a little bit. So we're going to put some glue. Actually, I'd be better off putting the glue on here. Some glue. And then a couple of dimensionals on the end, because that part's going to hang off. So I think it needs the dimensionals so that it doesn't bend or look funny. Okay, and then the bling. We cannot forget the bling. And for this, I definitely need the Take Your Pick tool. It has putty on the end, so it helps you pick up things. It does a really good job. And I think I won't use the biggest ones. I'll use the... Are there medium? No, there's just sort of small and large. No, then maybe I will use the big ones. So I'm going to put one on this end. And I'm going to put one on this end. And then, oh, you know what? I got an idea. How about if we put one, because you're supposed to do things in threes anyway, right over that green mark. And now nobody can see it, and I don't even have to erase it. Isn't that nice? There you go. All right, so again, there's something about the white on white, even though there are some colors there, that to me it just makes it kind of an elegant card and a fairly simple card. And I like that. So those are our 3 cards for tonight. Excuse my arm. So we have a card that certainly could be Christmas, but could also be something else. And then we have our Hanukkah card. And then we have our Celebrate card for whatever occasion, anniversary, wedding, engagement, shower, you name it. All right, and I will take pictures of these and post them tonight or tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching me tonight, and I will see you 1 week from today. Take care. Have a great night.